Hi, love. Hello, and welcome to Co-Creative Healing Journey. My name is Greta. I am a healer, and this is a reading where I'm going to be bringing through messages for you from Spirit as part of our ongoing healing process, where we're going to be talking about joyous creativity. And so that's the theme right now. And these are the life messages. And I will be doing the love messages on Saturday. And so let's look and see what Spirit wants to share. We've been talking about intrinsic creativity, intrinsic joy, doing things for intrinsic reasons. And I feel like now we're going to be talking about effort and the right kind of effort, which is actually also a concept from Buddha Gautama. So we'll see how all of that unfolds. We have an overall energy of karmic grace. Well, that's appropriate. We have got goodwill. Interesting. And we have got storm wisdom. Ooh, okay. So with karmic grace, Spirit is talking about lessons learned and the culmination of those lessons. So the message would be that if you're paying attention in your life, in this world at this time, you would notice that we are learning individuals, relational, but also collective lessons around effort and the notion of effort. And that could be how much effort we put into relationships, into work, into our own lives, even into something like the mass demonstrations that have been happening for months over the genocide in Gaza. That's a lot of effort, and that's a lot of energy to put into to go to. And some people are doing this weekend after weekend after weekend, right? So again, it's that kind of effort, and there are lessons right now to be learned around that. And so it's again an individual relational, but it's also a collective thing. And fundamentally, what we're being asked is to develop a much more loving and empowered and positive experience of effort. So when I talk positivity or even negativity, those are filters that we apply to make sense of our reality. And so to me, positivity is everything that brings more love into our lives and all the expressions of love, more gratitude, more joy, more peace, more purpose, more trust, and so on and so forth. However, that love is going to be expressing. And goodwill spirit is reminds me of something that I saw at a demonstration that was so beautiful. And it was a group of Orthodox Jews, and I don't remember what they're called. They're called something like Neruti Karta, but they're amazing and people just wow. Yeah. Organized religion is not something that I put a lot of energy or time or desire into, but sometimes it really wows you, and those people really wowed me actually, in the spirit and the power of their spirit and how they were showing up. And one of them said the most beautiful thing. They were talking about how sometimes they would walk to demonstrations. The interviewer asked them, like, I hear sometimes you have to walk miles to a demonstration. And then he said, yes, I believe the longest we had to walk was, I think it was 20 miles back and forth. And it took them 7 hours. And then he said the most beautiful thing. He said, that's how far we have come so far. That's how far we've made it. I forget the exact phrase, which is a shame because it was so beautiful. But he was expressing that the effort was an honor. He was honored to have put that much effort into serving his God, into doing what was right for him, into doing what was true. It wasn't a burden. There was such perfect goodwill towards it. It was not a burden. It was not a difficulty. Walking 7 hours in one day to go to a demonstration was, yeah, an honor and a blessing. And it's that kind of energy. And it's storm wisdom, my love. This is storm wisdom, and this is why I love doing what I do, because spirit can share these messages for you. If you look at the way that the world is right now, people who can understand this, people who can develop such a positive, loving, empowered relationship to effort are those who are going to thrive. And you may have heard the saying something like, successful people do what other people won't. And that's kind of what Spirit is saying. There's ways in which we can understand it's not entirely true. But what is true is that the ability to put in effort is going to be a hallmark of success in these times. And again, the notion that people say when they talk about success, they think about putting effort into, like, it's not necessarily that actually, but it's also, yeah, they do include health, but it's about putting effort into what you're thinking and how you're feeling, into your health, into your time management. What are you spending your time on? How are you giving of yourself? Where are you giving of yourself? And Storm Wisdom is coming back to this notion that in these times, it's going to be a game changer. It's going to be one of the most important pieces of wisdom you can ever have and ever get, because people are increasingly controlled through their use of time. And so it could be something like going to work for 12 hours a day, and then you don't have time for other things. You don't have time to take care of to think about a genocide. You don't have time to develop yourself. You don't have time to find another job even if you don't like it. It's like that. But it's also on our phones. How much time do we spend scrolling on our phones? How much time do we spend on things that aren't for our highest good? Even something like having the time to cook, to make a healthy meal every day, that can be life changing. It's those kinds of things. And it's something that we hear very often. I don't have time. I don't have time. But time is something that we make. It's something that we create. But in order to make time, for example, this is one resource we're talking about, but it's also money management, right? How many people get paid, and outside of poverty wages and those kinds of things, outside of scarcity, but how many in terms of management, how many people get paid and 10 days later they are in either they don't have enough anymore, or they are strapped and they have to stress about money for the rest of the month. I used to be one of those people. So it's those kinds of things, but it takes effort to live right. It takes effort to live in ways that are going to be beneficial for you. And fundamentally, with the karmic grace here, one more, okay. It's again the lesson of our times, and it's going to be very much a lesson in this week, in these days when you're working this energy, but also just in general. And again, at an individual but also relational level, again, we're learning about putting energy, time, effort into relationships. Not something we necessarily learned 20 years ago, that former generations learned, but now it's becoming much more the norm. And it's those kinds of things. It's in the spirit of the times. Yeah. So let's get right to it. We have got our Three of Pentacles. We've got Ace of Cups. Beautiful. We have got Five of Pentacles upside down. We've got Four of Pentacles upside down. And we've got Eight of Wands. Okay. So, with the message here of the Three of Pentacles, this is Spirit talking about how we are in an era that is very much about instant gratification. We want what we wanted, and we want it now. We want it to be happening a certain way now. We want it to be showing up now. We want to kind of control and direct how things are going to unfold now, right? And so part of the effort is learning to have a much more progressive approach to things. And that's really, really important, because when we slow down, we allow Spirit to come in. And Spirit coming in with fulfillment. Not just the possibility of fulfillment, but it's almost like an inevitability. And it's about co-creation. When we do things progressively, step by step, we give the universe time to rearrange, to reorganize, to come in, to bring its own energy to the table. And really with it comes blessings. And Spirit is even saying that going more slowly, taking things step by step, is a blessing. It is something that brings a tremendous amount of fulfillment, right? On some level, it's the slow life. It's slowing down in life. But it is also, we think of it as slowness, but it's true. Sometimes it's also just being progressive. We can go fast, step by step. But the fact of going step by step is a different approach than this kind of more direct approach. And I found this out following energy is that whenever I would finish a project, I'd be like, yes, I'm ready to launch, I'm ready to go. And the first thing I would want to do is actually to pause, pause, rest, go on vacation, take some time. And that's actually because the universe also gets time to um, recombine, reconverge, realign, because you change the alignment, you change the reality by doing some kind of work, taking some kind of action, by utilizing a situation in some kind of way. You've changed the reality. You've changed the way that things are. And so the universe needs some recalibration. And again, that's the seasons, that's the soil, that's the nature, that's the world, that's even other people sometimes just needs some time to recenter, recalibrate, and come back around. And that is completely and totally okay. But this is the current mindset of the time. Five of Pentacles. There's not enough time. We don't have time to think it over. We don't have time to allow other people space to think it over. We don't have time to give the universe its own space to come in with different options, different things. It's very, I'm saying time because that's what we go by a lot, but it's also different kinds of resources. Feeling just scarcity of the ability to properly co-create with spirit. That's what it is fundamentally, but it can come through in our lives. There's just a scarcity of feeling supported. And so because we don't feel supported in our daily life, we tend to overcompensate, and we tend to overcompensate from a space of scarcity. There's no need to compensate. There's a need to go back, one pentacle, and come into a space of security and grounding. I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this. This could also be a really good thing to remind ourselves on a daily basis. Not necessarily just gratitude, but just a reminder. Oh, I have four walls around me. I have this, I have this, I have this. I have food in the fridge. I have what I need for today. I don't actually need to go to the store to get more. I have what I need to eat today. Okay, so that being the case, then how can I use my time? It may not be the most efficient way to run your life every single day, but it could be the most effective way to co-create with spirit today, right? So I'm not going to go to the store today. I'm going to open the fridge, trust that I have what I need, eat today, and then that time I can spend differently. And then I can, when a friend calls, I'm home, I'm free, and we can go out for lunch, and they can tell me about this. It can lead to this, it can lead to that. A different unfolding can happen if we come at things from a space of feeling much more secure. Much more secure. And with Nine of Wands, we're back to the notion that these are the lessons of the times. And Nine of Wands is also talking about street smarts. So there's this notion that you've been there, done that, and that you've learned that this is the better way. But you've not necessarily put it together in the way that Spirit is iterating right now. And you're not necessarily gone for it, basically, for lack of a better word. But I do feel like Spirit is saying that this is the time. You're ready now to go for it, to make this much more your lifestyle, because you're in a time and a space where, with everything that's going on in our world, you're ready to benefit from this kind of approach, this kind of effort. And that's because fundamentally the right thing in this world is gonna take a lot of effort. I'm experiencing actually quite a few challenges doing this reading. And of course, it's part of the energy, right? Do a reading about effort, you're going to be challenged, and that's fine. And it's part of the energy, and I'm working it for you guys. I'm working it. But the thing is, I was wondering about it, and I'm like, what are these challenges? And they're nowhere near challenges I used to have when trying to do a reading. It's not the big things that are coming up to interrupt me at all. It's actually, I checked, is it the right time? Is it the right conditions? It's perfect on that level. But what it is that in this world, when you try to do what is aligned, when you're coming from this space of goodwill and this higher energy and trying to work the lessons of the times, the energies of the times, you're going to get challenged. It's going to take some effort. There's going to be some wear and tear. But of course, the notion is that if you can find what we're going to be talking about here within it, if there's a way in which that effort doesn't have to be that hard, it doesn't have to be that difficult. And again, it's effort that you're so willing to give, you're so proud to give, you feel honored again to give that kind of effort, because it's for the right thing, it is for the aligned thing, and it is for whatever you consider to be the higher principle at play in your own life. And that's going to be different for everybody. It's Spirit is saying it's always beautiful when it comes from that space, right? So let's look and see. Let's go deeper. We've got mediumship. Okay, didn't expect that one. We've got power. Ooh. And we've got feline. Okay. Brilliant. Mediumship is talking about a bridge to another world. And mediumship is a card, of course, of having abilities, being able to read energy, and to do it as work, having a calling towards that. And what Spirit is saying is that there is a calling at this time for you to start working, efforting in a different way at a higher level with connection to higher dimensions, right? There is a thing like work hard or work smart. And the Spirit is saying it's neither. This is work aligned, work true, work higher. And then follow that, you will have a very different kinds of outcomes, a very different experience, a very different reality. Again, it's not always about what we're going to get out of it. It is fundamentally about the experience, who you are, and living in a way that's much more aligned. But there is a calling for you to change how you put effort into things, what you put effort into, but especially your relationship to effort. Because fundamentally, and this is what power is talking about, empowering yourselves when it comes to effort. Because if you think it's hard, it's gonna be hard. And life doesn't have to be hard. Life isn't hard. Life is love and light and joy. But existence, with the systems that we've built up in the world, right? How we go about life in this world, that can be hard. And it can be more or less hard if you're empowered. And part of the empowerment is understanding that there's a lot about the ways in which we live systematically, in the systems we build up, that are intended to bring about hardship, because it is easier for social control. And social control is not always some kind of nefarious scheme by lizard people who are trying to take over the planet. So social control is something that parents have over their children when they have their 2-year-old not break everything in the house. You know, we socialize our children. When we teach language, teaching language is a form of social control. And it's okay, right? So not every single aspect of control is negative. For example, we need to control our thoughts, we need to control our emotions, our actions, right? All of those things. And in the same way, there's the need to control our relationship to effort, and to understand that what we're taught about effort and how society is made is very much about dissuading us from the kind of effort that will have us depart from social control, that would have us transcend social control. You know, I was seeing a girl the other day, her TikTok, I think, went viral. And she was talking about how she just started her job, fresh out of university, starts her first job, and she has 2 hours to commute to work. She's there for 8 hours, 2 hours to commute back, gets home. She doesn't have time for anything. And she was crying because she was realizing that that was going to be her life from now on. And she got so much hate of people saying, oh, you don't want to work, you don't want this, you don't want that. Now, first of all, just culturally speaking, I grew up in Scandinavia, live in Scandinavia. That kind of life sounds insane for most people. And so there's already that aspect. It's not the norm across countries, but there's the aspect where people just assume that it's the norm. And so as soon as she is empowered in herself to know that's not the kind of life that I want to lead, let alone empowered to speak it out, she gets so much attack back. She gets so much flack. And of course, it gets a little bit harder to be in those emotions and to let alone follow through on them, and maybe try to, get another job, move, reorganize, and so on and so forth. And, the reason why she had a 2 hour commute, for example, was because she couldn't afford to live in the city where she works. So she was living a bit far out. So there are ways in which she can make her situation better, but even wanting to is causing her to get so much backlash. And so this is spirit saying that there's the need to be empowered in order to take control of effort. It takes effort to commute 2 hours one way to work, right? 4 hours to work both ways. It takes effort, but it's not necessarily the right kind of effort. It's not necessarily productive effort. And it's more, especially and more importantly, most importantly, it's not the kind of effort that she would want to put into her life, into that job. And that's what needs to be respected. And Spirit is saying it's the same thing for you. Be very aware of whether or not you are wanting to put effort into things, or are you putting in things into effort, are you putting effort into things that are going to get you where you want to go, be who you want to be, lead the life that you want to lead. And that's really, really important. And that's a matter of empowerment, empowering yourself to choose what kind of effort, when, where, how, towards what, knowing the extent to which it is going to benefit you, which is fundamental, always the central thing. Now, feline is a message that Spirit has for you. You are at a time in your life. There's a collective energy going on. Heck, there's even technology going on. There's social advancements, all of these things, lots of things, dynamics that are happening that make it so that you individually in your own life, but also the context around you, is creating a shift towards a life of ease. And so feline talks about the lions. The example in the text talks about lions who sleep for 20 hours a day, are awake for 4 hours then, right? And when they hunt, it takes seconds. So they are able to eat because they utilize their time very intelligently. And one of the things that they do is in the feline, it talks about waiting, about taking your time, and then pouncing when the moment is right, and even about how there's an inevitable push towards that. So where you are in your life, you may have been in this pattern of holding, pattern of waiting. That moment to pounce, that moment to move forward is coming up. It will be unfolding in your life shortly. So, look forward to that. But at a more fundamental level, it's talking about learning. There's a new way of life for you to learn that has you understand really masculine and feminine energies and cycles and seasons, when it's time to put in a lot of effort, when it's time to put in less, when it's time to reap the rewards, when it's time for things to be easy, when it's okay that it's a bit hard, all of those things, that there's wisdom for you to develop. And again, it's wisdom that you develop. It's not wisdom that you inherit, where people say, well, this is always hard, this is always easy. Like this thing about relationship being hard. Best relationships I had were not hard. They had their challenges, absolutely, but they weren't hard. And that's the one thing that is true for me and how I relate, because I will put a lot of effort into lots of different things. But relationship doesn't need to be one of those for me personally. Also because I have plenty of those kinds of experiences and connections in my own life, I don't need anymore. And so I'm toning it down on that. But to put effort into my work, to put effort into my service, to put effort into volunteering, those kinds of things, absolutely. Turn up the volume, turn up the dial. And that's part of the wisdom of me knowing what works for me, what suits me. Effort into my daily life. Like one of the things that I've noticed with this spiritual growth and evolution these past few weeks, how wonderful it is to just sit around, listen to music, drink a cup of tea. I had perfectionist workaholic tendencies that I've been working through very effectively the last couple of years, and it felt like a culmination, like, oh my god, this is the good life, y'all. It's like that. But again, you have to be able to. I was not able to just do nothing and enjoy it as fully as I do now without lots of different things coming in. And so there's a wisdom here. There's a way for you to learn and to fall into, where you can really discover what works for you. And Spirit is saying that's the kind of effort that you really want to put in at this time. And it's the kind of effort that will, without any kind of exaggeration, it will change your life. It will change your life. So, my love, that was the reading. And these are the messages. We have soul retrieval. And soul retrieval says, Isis, healing goddess, now offers you rich spiritual restoration and deep soul healing through the art of soul retrieval, reclaiming pieces of you lost through trauma, old and new. Soon you will enjoy greater wellness, energy, and power, so be willing to go through the healing process, knowing that any emotional clearing taking place is leading you to wholeness. Beautiful. Yeah, healing into wholeness, absolutely. And the final message that Spirit wants you to have and to know and to understand, that's a little bit hard to hold, is that you have had trauma visited upon you. Our civilization and how it's currently unfolding is traumatizing to so many of us, but we don't have to live in this trauma, and it's time to heal from it. For those of you where that resonates, I highly recommend the work of Dr. Gabor Mate, where he talks about the trauma from capitalism, for example, and capitalistic societies and how they function. That might really give you something, right? You might want to check that out. So that's it for me here and now. I'm going to wrap up this reading, continue on with the healing over at Patreon. If that speaks to you, links are in the description box. And also in the description box, I've created some healing processes that I've transformed into books. So this is a healing process you can follow where you speak the words, and it goes into recovery, it goes into inspiration, higher calling, if you want to progress your life, move it forward, and of course, co-creative manifestation with the universe. So all of that is in the description box. Sending you lots of love, wishing you all the best. May you be blessed always and in always, and I'll be seeing you around. Bye.